Taiwo Oyedele. Tinubu appointing critics for sinister motives, Atiku's aide. Frank Shaibu, the Special Assistant on Public Communications to the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, on Saturday accused President Bola Tinubu of appointing critics into government for sinister moves. Shaibu said Tinubu's constant meetings with some key opposition figures were being done for the purpose of seeking legitimacy and surreptitiously silencing credible and critical voices. Reacting to the appointment of Taiwo Oyedele, a tax expert at PwC, Shaibu said it was only a ploy to get him to stop speaking about the government's failures, which he has been doing almost on a daily basis on television, radio, and social media. In a statement, Shaibu noted that former President Buhari similarly did this when he was appointing his economic advisory team. According to Shaibu, it is common knowledge that Mr. Oyedele is the loudest voice as regards tax reforms. Last Saturday, he pointed out some of the wrong tax policies of the APC government. In a bid to silence him, he was appointed chairman of a tax reform committee yesterday, but no other members were announced. Probably they want him to work alone. With this new appointment, Mr. Oyedele will no longer be able to speak about the government's failures. Mr. Oyedele would do well not to allow himself to be rubbished by Tinubu, a man whose only secret to economic boom is using firms linked to him to generate tax for a commission, just as he did in Lagos. Mr. Oyedele must not allow himself to be deceived by this appointment. In 2019, President Buhari similarly appointed Doyin Salami Chukwuma Soludo and Bismarck Rowan into his economic advisory team. But he never took the advice for one day. In the end, Nigeria was plunged into one of its worst economic crises ever, with an unprecedented debt profile, multidimensional poverty, and never-before-seen unemployment figures. Shaibu said Tinubu was buying over opposition figures in order to give his government some form of legitimacy after a questionable electoral victory. He argued that the so-called government of national unity Tinubu was propagating was only a ruse to decimate the opposition. These are the tactics of the late General Sani Abacha, who gave appointments to several pro-junta voices, all in a bid to silence them. In the end, many of such people who sold the mandate for a pot of porridge became traitors to the democratic struggle and never recovered politically. Those being courted by Tinubu must note that it is all a ploy to buy him legitimacy. When dealing with the devil, it is always good to do so with a long spoon. They must be circumspect about working in his government, as their credibility could be damaged beyond repair. To be honest, this isn't news per se, because even before Tinubu got into office, from political party to another political party, you see people jumping ship and then joining, and you realize, wait, for the past 4 years you were such a stan and believer in your party and what you believed in, and elections are just in a few months' time, and the next thing you're in this party. So whoever Tinubu would appoint in his economic advisory team, and you talk about their credibility and their political careers being damaged, does it really matter? Because what is the standard anyways for someone's political career in the country? No one sees or expects someone who is in any part of the Nigerian government, let alone Tinubu's government, to be a saint or someone who looks to fight and respect the people. So it's like there's so much impunity, disrespect, disorderliness, disorganization. So what do you expect? So this damage and ploy and advice that Taiwo Oyedele is giving is like, well, is it really needed? They know the best. At the end of the day, they can pose a disorganized, unhappy front, but then when it's time for them to collaborate and work against the people, they do so every single time. It's never surprising. On the other side of things, Taiwo Oyedele is of the PDP, Atiku's aide. So regardless, him being on the side of the opposition, it's not surprising that he would talk about Tinubu's government in a very, negative light. And you can expect this all the way to the next election. So it's not going to stop now. The PDP would always bash the APC, and it's basically just started. So with all the moves that Tinubu's going to make, it wouldn't matter, because regardless, if he's from the opposition party, he will find something to criticize this government. Well, now let's look at a lot of the comments. And most of the comments are actually on the side of Tinubu, saying that he's appointing his critics into government. And it's a good way to give an opportunity to your enemies, saying you cannot do well in certain areas, to bring about the changes they criticize you of. But as I keep saying, whoever you voted for, regardless, if it was anybody, Peter Obi, Atiku, or Tinubu, it is very early to judge. Again, it's been less than a month. Obviously, because of how competitive we are, we take these elections personally, like as if it's a personal achievement if, the person we wanted to win has won. But it would take time for us to then judge and see in the long run, the decisions he made did not make sense, but let's see how the results that are achieved work in favor of the economy and the people. So as I say, Tinubu being in office, there's a lot of criticism for those who are in support and those who are not in support. And there are those who don't believe he should be there and are still fighting it in court to this day. So, as I said, whether you voted for him or not, it is still too early to judge. But at the end of the day, whatever happens, we would have to judge in due time. You can't rush the process and then say, because he discussed about a good economic policy, wow, he's a great president. Let's not jump too early. We haven't seen anything yet. Put what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe.